in over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
It's Ferrall Coast to Coast in the biggest way possible right here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Go for the two. Joe Lisi joins me momentarily. Very busy Tuesday on C2C. A ton of NBA games tonight. A ton of Major League Baseball games tonight. A ton of NHL games tonight. And it is Masters Week. The azaleas are blooming in Augusta as we get ourselves ready for the first major of the year. So a lot to do, as always, on C2C. We start things off with the birthday roll call. What do we got today? Sadiq Bey at 25. Louis Arise, 27. Chase McLaughlin, 28. Fabian Moreau, 30. Raheem Mostert, 32. Graham Gano, 37. David Robertson, 39. A.J. Ellis, 43. Brian DeMarco, 52. James Hunden, 53. Jock Villeneuve, 53. Derwin Gray, 53. Derek Stingley, 53. A lot of 53s today. Graham Lloyd, 57. Oliver Barnett, 58. Hal Morris, 59. Hal. Freddie Joe Nunn, 62. And Kirk McCaskill in at 63 today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. All right. As we said, a lot to do here. We have live baseball going on this afternoon as well on a Tuesday. A couple of afternoon games. Detroit and the Pirates. The Pirates actually blew a lead in the ninth inning in that game, and that is now a final. The Tigers did beat them 5-3 as the Pirates could not push any across in the bottom of the ninth. Had a 3-1 lead going into the top of the ninth inning. Bednar came on to close. Didn't end very well. I did see a couple of errors thrown in there. So the Tigers end up beating the Pirates this afternoon. Little come-from-behind action in the ninth at PNC. The Orioles and the Red Sox are underway at Fenway. This is the home opener for Boston. They played their first 10 games all on the West Coast on the road. Pretty good, too, 7-3 for the Red Sox. And now they are 1-1, end of two. Tyler O'Neill, his sixth homer for the Red Sox. So what a tater pick that would have been today, going up against Corbin Burns, who's pitching for the O's. That's on the mound this afternoon. All right, we'll start things off today. First, we welcome in all of our radio affiliates. Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Joe Lisi joins me momentarily. SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159, Sports Byline, and, of course, the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio in sunny Southern California. Great to have everybody with us today. All right, we'll start with, of course, last night, Purdue loses to UConn. UConn national champs for back-to-back years. Tremendous job by Dan Hurley and the crew. Everybody was outstanding. Here's the bottom line with the tournament. 75-60 was the final. UConn smashed everybody for 2 years in a row. All 12 of their tournament wins, they won by double digits. One of the best teams you're going to see in the college game. I think, what are they, the third repeat champion in the past 40, 50 years? They talking about comparing them to the Florida teams, the Duke teams. I think Hurley was right about one thing last night. They lost a lot of their team last year. And for them to come back and dominate in the fashion that they did, they deserve all the accolades of being one of the best champs. But I'll say this about the tournament. What a dud the tournament was as a whole. I mean, you think about it from the first weekend all the way to the end. Specifically, really, I thought Sweet 16 on. And I know that doesn't, from the space that we in the sandbox that we like to play in, I mean, we care about covering games. We care about hitting numbers. And listen, blowouts are blowouts. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose tickets. But from like a watchability aspect, from a drama aspect, from an excitement aspect, the tournament left a lot to be desired this year. Honestly, one of the worst I can remember. And that's not taking anything away from UConn, because UConn only played in 6 games in the tournament. And they smashed everyone they played, and God bless them, they were excellent. But every game wasn't great. You think, what's the signature moment? What was the best game of this tournament? Really? You got to go all the way back to what? Creighton, Oregon the first weekend, maybe that game, maybe North Carolina and Alabama, maybe. Not a lot of candidates, not a lot of great moments. Tough year for the tournament, that's for sure. But UConn, great as they go and take down Purdue. We got a little Hurley today. We'll have him talking about their plan to stop UConn. And then Hurley immediately basically putting to rest anything about him in Kentucky. I saw actually right before we came on air, Coach Cal did the big goodbye to Kentucky in his video, sitting on the couch at home in Lexington, saying, it was time for them to hear a new voice with Kentucky basketball. No, Coach, it was just time for you to go because they weren't throwing you bouquets anymore. It was time to go somewhere where Coach is going to get love, and that's precisely what he's going to get now. So Kentucky's search is on. Lots of names have been mentioned, as we know, but Hurley seemed to take himself out of the mix last night. We'll play that. I thought that Jay Wright took himself squarely out of the mix as well when he was on the TV set after the game. So we will talk about that. And we have odds for next year. That's like a coast-to-coast stable, right? Whenever somebody wins a championship, we got to give you the odds for next year afterwards. All right, Gabe's with us in hour one as well. Hour two, we got lots of baseball tonight. We have a few things from last night that we have to talk about as well. Some great comebacks, including the Padres, who were down 8-0 at home to the Cubbies, and they came all the way back with the Tatis Jr. homer to get things done. Full slate of Major League Baseball tonight that we need to discuss. Coach Young will be with us for the lion's share in hour number two, as he always is. Davis Maddock is with us in hour number two as well, as we will get you all tuned up for tonight's action. Then, hour number three, we will start talking about the Masters. Of course, we are here this week, first major of the year, and Tiger Woods was at the podium this morning at the dais down in Augusta. We've got a little bit of Tiger today. John Rahm is the defending champion. He's going to have his dinner tonight. And Rahm seems just watching Rahm this morning, he almost looks like he's got a little buyer's remorse. Now, look, I'm sure the $500 million that he got from Live Golf is going to make him sleep all right at night. But he seems like he's got a little bit of remorse going to Live. Already doesn't like how many holes they play. He just doesn't, who knows how sharp he's going to be this week. I don't know. Rahm seems kind of over it already when it comes to Live Golf. But he's got his dinner tonight, and we got the menu as well to see if Joe, what he would choose off of the John Rahm dinner menu tonight down at Augusta. I already saw Joe on social media tell me what he would get at the Common Man's concession stand. Now we have to find out what Joe would get at the Champions dinner for tonight. We've got NBA tonight. Almost everyone is in action because everyone was off last night. The NBA regular season ends on Sunday, and there are a lot of games left to be played. These next few nights full of games, and we'll go through them all tonight. Hockey down the stretch as well. Tons of games that we have to get to. And as I said, we usually Golf Wednesdays is the time here on C2C. Not this week. This is the Masters. This is Augusta. We will have our first chat with Smiley Kaufman, of course. The Smiley Show now here on SportsGrid. We will chat with him in the final hour from Augusta as we get ready for the Masters. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Joe joins me next. SportsGrid Radio. We get it rolling right after this.
The fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing a player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum has games where he has stinkers. He shoots a 4 for 16. Jaylen Brown in the playoffs gets exposed because he can't go left. Porzingis gets old. Sometimes Jrue Holiday's not consistent. Al Horford father time to catch up. That being said, I still think they're going to the NBA Finals and winning it. And I'm a Knicks fan. I hate the Celtics with all of my might.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis owns it. They beat them 5 straight times, and Memphis is awful. So what does that say about the Bucks? They're the most overrated team in the NBA, hands down.
Michigan and Boston College, there's going to be goals scored in this game. But, with that being stated, the total's up to 7.5 right now. I got to go under 7.5 here, Scott.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, what's up? You watching the game? Or maybe the one later? Put a little BetMGM action on it, and now any game becomes the game. When you got overs and unders, you're in it every time they throw the ball, kick the ball, dribble the ball. They just not even a ball.
Who needs a ball?
Now that bet's got you watching every inning, half, round, period, set, hole, a lap. Right from the edge of your seat. Hit them with the promo.
And we are back, Ferrall Coast to Coast, here on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Joe will join me in a moment, but first, we of course have to let you know, as always, that BetMGM, they're doing it again, this time in North Carolina, where the green light is now on. They're giving away free money. You've got to be kidding me. What do we got to do in North Carolina? How about download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. Make sure you use bonus code GRID. That is bonus code GRID. BetMGM doing it again, giving away free money in North Carolina. All right, every Tuesday and Wednesday, you get the extended version of the very popular SportsGrid radio show, Carver and Lisi, which airs weeknights at 8 p.m. East. And that is with myself and the encyclopedia of college football, the one, the only. Go for the 2, Joe Lisi. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Carver. Some say it could be one of the hottest shows on the network, and it's trending each and every day and night. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know. And, dynamic duo, Batman, Robin, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's phenomenal, baby.
It is. You've been getting a lot of juice. I mean, people have been very excited with you all over social media. Joe's been the talk of the town about his performance on that show. So there. What do you mean?
The host on the network is you.
That's true. That's true. I mean, Joe, I'm not speaking out of turn here. Of course, that's absolutely true. We have a very busy afternoon, Joe. We have a lot to get to. Let's start here. There is 2 baseball games that are live right now. Some afternoon day ball on a Tuesday. In fact, I'm sorry, there's not 2 games live, Joe. One of them's over, as I mentioned before. The Tigers did beat the Pirates 5-3. They had a 9th inning comeback there, but there is one game still going. Orioles and the Red Sox are tied at 1. They are now in the bottom of the 3rd inning up at Fenway, home opener for the Sox. You have Bello and Burns going today. Tyler O'Neill hit his 6th homer for the Red Sox. They now go to the top of the 4th inning there, Joe. So we have that game to keep our eyes on as we continue to move throughout the afternoon. There's some Champions League soccer as well, Joe. If we could ever interest you in that for tonight. No, Joe, with the swift move out of the Champions League soccer. Cam loves the Champions League soccer.
No, I know Cam does. You have a better shot of Sasquatch coming through the studio right now than me watching the Champions League. But I will say this, I'm very excited that the Red Sox very competitive here in the early part of the season.
They have been.
I don't know if they get over the 77.5, but I'm very shocked that this team has come to play at least in April.
I think that adjusted number, Joe's already moved to over 80 with the 7-3 start that they've had. So they are. I know you did say it. You thought that they would not be the basement dwellers in the AL East this year. You thought that they'd have a little juice. Let's start today, Joe, by putting the ribbon on the college basketball season as we mercifully came to an end last night. And it's no fault of UConn's, Joe. I mean, it is what it is. They were so much better than everyone else that they demolished everyone. 75-60, back-to-back national championships for Dan Hurley and the Huskies. They put the finishing touches on it on Westwood One Sports NCAA Radio Network.
75-60, UConn by 15. 6.9 to go. In it comes to Ethan Morton. He's going to dribble this one out. And the second verse is the same as the first. UConn repeats as national champions. The 3rd team to repeat in the last 50 years. 75-60 the final. The Huskies back-to-back national champions.
What can you say, Joe? Honestly, they were the best team by far. They proved it last year and this year. They won by double digits every single game. They were 12-0 the last 2 years in the tournament against the spread. Incredible job by Hurley, Joe. And he lost a lot of play. He made this point at the podium last night. He lost a lot of players off that team last year that won, and he turned it right back around and still won again. That's a hell of a job by him.
It is modern-day Nick Saban, right? You can make the assessment that he understands how to coach in terms of today's landscape. A big day for Tristan Newton, a big day for Steph Castle with 15. Klingon was in foul trouble for much of the first half. It didn't matter. And that's what he did in terms of the whole tournament. They were never challenged in regards to any second half type of score. They always pulled away from about 15 minutes in the second half. It was all UConn. And yes, part of that was how dominant they were. The other part was Purdue just not taking chances. I know that Zach Edey was the mainstay of that offense, but Braden Smith only attempted 2 threes. They only had 1 3 throughout the game. When you're down by 12 or 13 points with 4 minutes left, what are you working for shots for? We saw the same situation with Alabama. At some point, you got to go for broke and try to outscore them. It's amazing. The foul game never came into existence either.
Well, Joe, there was actually a pretty simple reason for that. And I'm going to give you Hurley right now, kind of setting it all up for you. They had a very simple game plan going into last night's game. They were going to let Zach Edey do whatever he wanted, and they were going to shut down the rest of the team. And it worked to perfection. Here's Hurley.
You know, just the game plan and Luke, Luke for a day and a half prep to have us as ready as he did defensively for that game was just impressive. We obviously, we didn't want to give up threes. We didn't care if Zach, took 25, 28 shots to get 30, 35 points.
Wouldn't let him have them.
This whole game plan was like no Smith, no Lawyer, no Gillis, no Jones. Keep that collective group under 18, 20 points as a group. They had no chance to win. No matter how well
No
Zach
shot. No shot.
No, he's right, though. I mean, that's precisely what happened. They didn't let anyone else do anything. They bottled everyone else up, and they let the big fella just go ahead. You want to score?
Yeah.
You can score. You can get your twos all night. We're not letting anything else go on.
But I will say this, and if you watch this game play out last night and you watch the Alabama game, Sears, Braden Smith, how many times do they drive the lane, have an open layup, and these guys are looking to kick it back out to three? Take the layup. Attack the basket, attack the tin. That's a lost art in regards to a point guard now. I understand that you want to shut it down from the three-point line, but if they're giving you the lane, you got to take it strong. That is the one portion of today's game that is non-existent. Every point guard, when they get the lane, they're afraid to take the shot. They're hesitant. They always want to kick it back out to the arc for the three ball, and that's where UConn won the battle last night.
It certainly is. Here's all the numbers, Joe, for you. 12-0 against the spread in these two tournaments. 28-6 against the spread in the NCAA tournament since 2009. 33-1 straight up and 29-5 ATS the last 2 years against non-conference opponents. Hurley's 15-3 against the number in the tournament. UConn is 6-0 straight up at ATS in all 6 national championship games they've been in. And, Joe, all 6 titles are since 1999. No one else has more than 3. UConn, Joe, officially, over the last 30 years, the best program in college basketball.
They're the blue blood. They're the blue blood. I don't want to hear about any, Kentucky and the lineage. It's Calhoun. It was Kevin Ollie, and it's obviously now Hurley. We're back-to-back for the first time since Donovan with Florida. So, dominant effort, great modern-day coach.
Joe, we'll come back. I'll talk to Gabe, and then later this hour, I want to play your Hurley talking about the Kentucky job, of course, because now that Cal's out of there, I'll let you know what he said. Ferrall, Coast to Coast, we're back on the grid right after this.
Is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing a player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night, I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall, coast to coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Gabe Morency's with us every day on Coast to Coast. Of course, Sports Rage late night, weeknights, 10 p.m. East, right here on the grid. Gabe, good to see you. As always, my man, we got a lot going on tonight. Full slates in hockey and NBA, MLB. There's a lot happening. But I want to start here and get your thoughts on last night. I was just saying to Joe, obviously UConn was a wrecking ball. I mean, they destroyed everyone. They won by double digits. They covered every game 2 years in a row. Hurley's building a tremendous thing there, and he's never leaving there for Kentucky. I know people have been throwing that around. There's just no shot with what he's got cooking there. But Gabe, I thought the tournament as a whole, and it's got nothing to do with UConn winning. They were that good in those 6 games that they played. I thought the tournament as a whole, Gabe, left a lot to be desired. There wasn't a lot of excitement. There wasn't a lot of great finishes. There wasn't a lot of drama. Even the games, you had NC State make a run, but even they, their games weren't very compelling down the stretch. I thought the tournament was a dud totally.
Well, as a whole, it was a pretty uneventful college basketball regular season, to be honest, right? Yeah. I mean, really, if you look at the upcoming NBA draft, name the top 5 players in the draft. Like normally, right, like when you come out of an NCAA tournament, there's like buzz around certain players. It's like, wow, that kid is amazing. Oh, we didn't know much about him. Nobody really stood out. Like there's not like you can say, oh yeah, you know what, this kid and that kid, and now he's going to be a top 5 pick, and he did this. It was very team orientated. I think it was good basketball. The quality of play was good, but there weren't the buzzer beaters. I saw the one shining moment piece last night, and it's pretty anticlimactic as well. They didn't really have a lot to work with, to be honest. But, we're in the midst of greatness right now as far as UConn. And I thought about that as well. UConn have won two championships in a row right now. Are they one of the greatest teams of all time? Probably not. No. Like I'm just being real, and I bet on him, and I had him to win the tournament, so we cashed the ticket. But I just think it was everyone else wasn't very good in a sense. Like when Purdue was the number 1 competitor, like honestly, like if you look back on the teams that UConn have beaten over the last couple of years, like all right, they beat San Diego State, bro. It was a Mountain West team. Like you know what I'm saying? They just beat Purdue. Okay, Purdue hasn't won a championship in 55 years. Like it hasn't been like they had their Foreman to their Ali. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, like if you look back, like at the Duke championships and stuff, let's just call it out for what it is. It was harder to win, bro. It's like Kentucky were loaded. UNLV were loaded. Michigan were loaded. Duke were loaded. North Carolina were loaded. They all had like, I was talking about NBA players. Yeah, Michigan. Yeah, you had Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard. How's Christian Laettner and Grant Hill were on the same damn team together, bro. The Kentucky teams, right? The constant number 1 picks and the top 3 picks in the draft. You just don't have that anymore in college basketball. But to be honest, I watched the least amount of college basketball this year in the regular season than I have in years because of that. It was just boring and uneventful. I mean, when the most popular guy is some fat kid from Illinois because he wears goggles, who cares, bro? Like, really? Let's be real.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's just, and I saw Hurley say this too last night that he thought I think the accomplishment was better maybe because, like he said, he lost guys in terms of all these back-to-back winners. But those Florida and Duke teams, Gabe, they were a lot better than this team. And they had a ton of NBA players on both of those teams. I'm not sure you could say the same. There's obviously guys who are going to be in the NBA on this UConn team.
But that's what makes them so dangerous,
Right.
actually. I wanted to get to this, and I tweeted this last night. So they become the first team since the Gators to repeat in 2006-07. Before that, it was 91 with Krzyzewski and Duke.
Yep.
But no one's won 3 in a row since John Wooden and UCLA. Yeah, like you talked about, Hurley's not going to Kentucky, bro. The guy's on the verge of joining John Wooden. like, you want to talk about legendary? Like, you rattle off 3 in a row, and why can't he? Like, honestly, let me ask you right now. Like, who's going to beat him? What's going to be different next year? Like, and the whole thing with UConn is they're not predicated on, oh, man, they got like these top 5 NBA star guys. Listen, Stephon Castle's probably going to be a top 5 pick, top 7 pick. You know, you should probably go back, but the money's going to be there because it's a thin draft. But my point is, Carver, dude, the 2 best players from last year weren't even on the team this year. Remember, the center guy's gone. Okafor was his name, Okafor, whatever his hell his name was.
Yes.
And the Hawkins kid, the guard, was the star. They're not even there. Like, they're not predicated on one guy. It's like, yeah, if Stephon Castle leaves, whatever, dude. He scored 9 points last night. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, he's gone. We have the new kid stepping in. Like, so Hurley's so good at coaching college basketball players and getting a system and a game plan. And, you know, he's so determined. He's one of these legendary guys that's driven by everything and little things. And the motivation to win 3 in a row. Very similar to the Kansas City Chiefs being driven right now, actually. We're going to have the same thing going into the years next year. No one in the NFL's done it in 3, and it hasn't been done. But imagine, guys, UCLA won 7 in a row. Imagine that. 1967 to 73. You want to talk about complaining about boring. Imagine people then. What's the point of watching the tournament, man? UCLA just kill everybody all the time. 7 in a row.
That was Sonogo, the big kid on UConn last year, Gabe, who was on that team. Sonogo was on the team
so he's not even there anymore,
and
they just dominated again.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to I want to do the hockey first.
Oh, but by the way, remember my pick.
Yes.
The Dodgers to win the season opener, UConn to win the championship at 10-1.
Well, that was, and again, that was we and you have talked about this a few times in the past. Putting those things together. You know, it might not seem like a lot, you know, at first, like, I got to wait to cash this. I got weeks before this comes in. But then when you get to the end game and it actually hits, it's a lot of fun when you have those little tickets and then suddenly, I'm cashing a whole bunch of them. You know, putting those small, you know, yeah, they were the favorite, but you were putting them with a couple games that day. You were able to hold on to it. It works, man. It's fun when you do it.
Scotty Scheffler for the Masters is a good example for this.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's what you should be. So tonight, like, look, you know, I'm nuts with the golf, and so is Cam, and I'm gonna have 1,000 plays for the Masters.
Put the LA
this week.
Kings in, bro. The Kings are gonna beat, like, they're gonna win the hockey game tonight. Just put the Kings in with your golf pick.
I'm even sicker, Gabe. So I'll pick a couple guys to like hit a homer tonight in baseball and put it with Scheffler, so that I maybe get a couple of tickets like that to try to put a few of those. Hockey. There's only about a week and 2 days left. Next Thursday is the last night of the regular season. This Eastern Conference is super tight, and there are several enormous games tonight. Washington and Detroit. The Flyers are in Montreal. The Islanders have the Rangers at the horse track. You've got the other big one was the Buffalo's still hanging in there in Dallas. A lot of these Eastern teams with big games tonight in hockey.
One thing you said, though, and we often talk about the National Hockey League and how they fumble when it comes to their scheduling. Here's another thing I don't understand, and I was thinking about this, that you just said it. The regular season ends next Thursday. Why would you end your regular season on a Thursday so you're not ready to start the playoffs on the weekend?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you end? No, the word is too, right? The word is they're going to roll them out on the 20th now?
So they originally were going to start on the following Monday. And I think that somebody talked to Gary or whoever and said, "No, we're starting Saturday."
You need them on the weekend,
right? We need these games on the weekend. So yes.
So do you take the teams?
When they're going to start.
You take the teams that didn't play. You know what I mean? You try to Because there's nothing stupider than playing 82 games and then saying, all right, you got less than 48 hours and the playoffs start.
Run right in.
It's like, well, what are you talking about? Like
doesn't make
only
a
the
lot of
NHL
sense.
creates these problems for themselves. Like, they really are morons when it comes to the schedule. Like, I thought about that. I'm like, I know about this problem here, but like, no, they can't wait till Monday or Tuesday. The network, and I was like, then why did you guys, like, did anyone in the room just say, you know what, maybe it's not the best idea we end the season on a Thursday, guys, because, the playoffs, then we'll have to wait. It's unbelievable. But Carolina-Boston's an interesting one. Boston just got these guys last week. I'm pretty high on this Carolina team. I don't want to play Carolina as a road favorite, though. I think it's a chalky night tonight. As smoking hot as the Dallas Stars are, I am surprised they're only minus 225. Here's a parlay for tonight. Tampa Bay Lightning to win. LA Kings. LA Kings have beaten the Ducks 8 times in a row. And the Dallas Stars is plus 146. Our boy, the Raging Redhead, Cam Stewart and Ferrall are going to be at the Maple Leaf and the Devil game tonight. I think Cam's going to have a good night tonight and the Leafs win this game. It's minus 180. A little pricey, but I think he has a good night tonight. Maybe not so good when he goes to the Islander game in a couple of nights. I do like I like the NBA card tonight. Milwaukee Bucks have lost 4 in a row. They need this game tonight. Like, they need to put this fire out. I think they can, getting a couple of points here tonight at home against the Boston Celtic teams, just sort of playing out the string right now. So I do like the Milwaukee Bucks in this spot. And big game tonight with the Warriors and Lakers. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Lakers on their home court tonight.
Huge game. Only Sunday's the last day of the regular season for the NBA game. So they're playing now. They're like squeezing them all in. Every team's got like 3 or 4 games to play between now and Sunday. So you're going to get a lot of NBA here. And then at least most teams get a rest next week when we get those play-in tournaments Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before they actually start. Everything for real. All right, Gabe, we'll see you tonight. Sports Rage Late Night, 10 p.m. East, right here on the grid with all these games going on. I'll see you tomorrow, Gabe. Great stuff.
Thanks, Mike.
Is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing a player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. All right, Joe, I want to get you to a couple of things with this Calipari stuff. Because obviously he puts a video out maybe about an hour ago or so saying goodbye, Joe, I guess you could say, to Kentucky. And Joe's already shaking his head. Joe can't stand Calipari, so he loves all this. He loves going after John. Now he's going to, reports are, they'll do the whole Arkansas introductory press conference tomorrow, the official announcement, et cetera, et cetera. So in that little video, Joe, that Cal put out, basically did the whole, well, I think it's time for a new voice in Kentucky. I think that we kind of run our course. I love it here, blah, 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 blah. We know what it really comes down to, Joe. Cal's a guy. We kind of were saying this yesterday. He's got all the money in the world. So I don't think that money is necessarily any kind of a driver for John Calipari. He likes being loved, Joe. He likes being loved. And he wasn't loved at Kentucky anymore because of how the last few years have ended. And he looked to get out of there. Although you sent me this from Dick Gabriel, who's one of the Kentucky broadcasters, who's doing an interview locally. I guess this is also just within the last hour or so, saying that Calipari asked Kentucky to counter Arkansas's offer. Because Calipari holds a lifetime contract, second highest paid coach in college basketball. Calipari, he said, here's what it's going to take to keep me. And Kentucky said, I don't think so. Kentucky said, no thanks, Joe. Chopped.
Well, Carver, yeah, I understand Cal likes to be loved, but he hasn't won a national championship in basically 12 years. When you have 5-star talent and you're bowing out to teams like Oakland, 13.5-point dogs, that's unacceptable. Forget Kentucky. It's unacceptable at Seton Hall and St. John's. Let's be honest. I mean, come on now. I mean, it's unreal that, you know, Cal had that train in motion. And a lot of times these coaches, you like to say it, they get fat. That train is in motion. They don't want to coach up the talent anymore. And Coach Cal was a terrible X's and O's coach. Didn't know how to adjust. If the talent couldn't carry him, Coach Cal couldn't win a big game. So that's why he's moving on. And we know that the expectation level at Arkansas isn't as high as Kentucky. Right? At Kentucky, it's almost like Alabama. You're supposed to make the college football playoff each and every year. You're supposed to at least challenge for a Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four every single year. And you can't bow out in round one of the playoffs. It's gutless. You know that as well as anybody. He last won a championship 12 years ago. He's eating more meatballs than he is coaching it up.
Well, you know, it's not easy to win, Joe. That's what they'll say.
And I like Cal. I like Cal because he used to wear the suits and everything, just like Jay Wright. But let's call it what it is. I mean, if his teams were competitive and they weren't gutless and bowing out in the first round, then we wouldn't have a problem.
Well, look,
he looks like he got hit with so many lefts. He's begging for a right. I really like Kentucky. Kentucky's great. My wife loves it. I love it. How about you coach it up and get to the Sweet 16, guy? That's it. Bottom line.
Look, you know, Oakland and St. Peter's 2 of the last 3 years.
I mean, come on.
You're like Oakland and St. Peter's in the first round 2 of the last 3 years. You gotta, you know, that other year's got to be a title. Then, if you're gonna lose games like that, you gotta win that. And those, like you said, have not been coming. So now the story shifts to who will be the coach there. Cal's gonna go to Arkansas. They'll make that official tomorrow. Who will be the coach, Joe? We've thrown a lot of names around here. Everybody has. In the last 24 to 36 hours since this news has come out. One of those names that has been talked about a lot is UConn coach Dan Hurley, who, of course, won the back-to-back national championships last night. I said to you yesterday this was going to happen, that this would now become, unfortunately for him, not just celebrating his title, but being asked about the Kentucky job. And that's precisely what happened in the postgame.
Yeah, Dan, I hope I don't misquote you, but you said out on the court something about UConn giving you all the resources you need. Can we interpret that to mean you intend to be back at UConn next year? You're not going to entertain any conversations with anybody else that might have a job coming open tomorrow?
Yeah. I don't think that's a concern. You know, my wife.
He brings his wife into it.
Yeah.
You know what? He's
gutless.
He's gutless, too. I'm pulling out Hurley. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she'll answer that question better than I can.
One second. Now, I know what you're going to do here, and let me just say this. When you do stuff like that, and when you laugh, a fake laugh, the uncontrollable fake laugh, go ask my wife, you better not go turn around and take the job then when they offer you $12.5 million a year. You better not go and turn around and take the job now after you put a show like that on.
Well, I just saw an interview. I don't know if you saw it, but he was in the car with his kids, another big personality, and he said he lost his phone and his phone broke and that he couldn't get text messages for the last 2 days. So he was completely unaware of the situation breaking in terms of Kentucky. That's first of all, okay? I'll send it to you.
I don't believe that.
Secondly,
no, I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm saying I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
Here's the other thing. And then he comes out right after he says that, and he says, that's why I was, unprepared for the questions last night, and questions that, unprepared. And that's why, your agent doesn't want you to answer questions that, well, here, Dan, big tough guy, here's, how you make it and just squash it? You tell your agent, I'm the one. I'm staying. I'm not moving from UConn. If you weren't entertaining it, you don't need your agent to talk for you. Stop being gutless. Step up to the podium and say you're staying at UConn. But because money drives you, just like every coach and everybody, that's why you're going to entertain it. You know that as well as anybody.
Correct. And that's why instead of the chuckle and go ask my wife that question stuff that he did last night, there was a much simpler way he could have answered it, Joe. And that is no shot. He could have stood up there last night and said, there's no shot that I'm leaving UConn. No shot. I love it here. I've won 2 titles. I could be here for the rest of my life and keep winning. I got a great life. I love the Northeast. There's no shot I would go and entertain any other job. He didn't do that in that clip, Joe. He laughed and said, go and ask my wife about that. And
it was like a nervous laugh.
Right. And I didn't see what you were referencing this afternoon, but I'm sure there was still a lot. But there was still a lot of dancing around and not just coming out and saying, no shot. There's no shot I would do it. So be careful there. I thought there was no shot, Joe. But, you start connecting the dots a little bit.
Yeah.
Money talks. Yeah. So he could, I think he's making $4.5 or $5 million a year at UConn now, Joe. And he's due for a raise considering what some of these other guys make. They would
pay him at UConn. It's East Coast money. Greenwich is not that far away. Hedge fund capital of the United States, along with England. You know that. Greenwich. Let's not forget. They throw 10 and 12 million at him to keep him in stores. See, this is what drives me nuts now with Dan Hurley now. All of a sudden now, the greetings and salutations. You know what? Instead of, stepping up and buying everybody, Ferragamos and Louboutin, why don't you just say you're not moving on? You don't have to ask your wife. Last time I checked, she wasn't roaming the sidelines, calling the X's and the O's and telling Tristan Newton what to do. You were, guy.
Well, Did you like when he pushed the kid last night to start moving? Did you like that?
Yeah,
Joe,
and then
he pushed the kid
he
in the
pushes
back?
the kid, and then on top of that, he pushes the kid, and then looks like it wasn't me. What did I do?
Was that Spencer? He pushed
had
him.
that
He pushed the kid
clueless look on
Spencer.
his
and
face. He had that look on his face. Come on.
So we'll see what happens with him, Joe. Jay Wright was asked on the postgame last night on TV, point blank, by the guys on the set if he was interested, and he said, "I do not want to leave the chair that I'm sitting in with you guys."
That would have been a great coach.
I believe him too, Joe. I think that Jay
No,
Wright.
I believe Jay.
I think Jay's one of these guys who, you know how Cowher left the NFL, Joe, and now Cowher's been gone forever, and people thought, oh, he'll go do TV for 3 years, and then a job's going to come along, and he's going to coach again. I don't think Jay Wright will coach again. I think that he's made his money, he's won his titles, and he loves sitting on that desk with no pressure, just talking about the game. He loves it.
And not only that, I thought about this too. Maybe Jay Wright was a visionary too, in understanding the NIL landscape.
think so.
And one of those old time type of coaches, similar to Saban, X's and O's, but maybe in terms of the current landscape, just realize, you know what, it's not worth the return. I won 2 national championships. I've already solidified myself as one of the best college coaches modern day, and now I'm just going to comment there and make my 2 million plus with endorsements, and that's good enough for me.
He can sit in that chair for another 15, 20 years. He's a young enough guy. He can sit in that
great
chair.
At what he does,
and
he's great.
And he's excellent. And in fact, Joe, I bet you one day he'll be, they still have, obviously the big team was Raftery and all that, but I think one day he'll be on the analyst on the game. He'll be doing the game at some point. He'll be on the big crew for the Final Four. There with Iron Eagle, doing the game with Grant Hill. Raf still got a good years left. But eventually, Joe, it'll be Jay Wright who's sitting there as the guy calling the Final Four on TV. A coast-to-coast tradition, Joe. The day after a championship, we must already give you the odds for next year's championship. Here we go. The 2025 Men's National Championship odds. UConn at 10. It opened at 12 last night, Joe. People immediately ran and got it down to 10. Duke, who's going to have that kid, Cooper Flagg, come, that monster freshman for them. They're up there as well at 11. Kansas, this is the usual suspects, Joe. Kansas, Houston, North Carolina, Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't have a coach. They're 20-1. Bama, 20-1. Arkansas is at, Joe, where did they put Arkansas at? 40. So they surged to 30 when that news first came out. Now they're back down to 40.
Curious, where's USC with Musselman?
60-1.
60-1.
Yep. And I got the whole list, Joe, if there's somebody else if you want.
I mean,
St. John's, 80.
No, where's Auburn with Pearl?
Auburn is 30-1 for
Not
next
bad.
year.
Not a bad now. I would take UConn.
Not
I mean,
bad.
how can't you take 10-1? I mean, there's, the only reason why. But hang on, wait a second.
Best number you're gonna get.
Is it? No. If he jumps ship, I suggest.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Bet UConn at 10-1 and bet Kentucky at 20-1. Bet them both simultaneously. That's your protection if he takes the job.
I can't sit here, Joe, and tell you, a year from now that they're going to be back in the Final Four in the national championship game or whatever that. I will tell you this, though. When we get around to the tournament next year, I'd say there's a good chance they're nowhere near 10-1, and they're closer to what they were this year if they're back in the tournament.
3.5.
So
3.5.
I mean, look. They're going to have some guys back on this team, especially if Hurley's
Where's Marquette?
there. Marquette is 40-1, and they do have Kolek coming back as well. So there you go.
Number. Not a bad number.
And I know you're always in on Gonzaga too, Joe. They're 25-1.
I thought this was the year. I thought this was the year. Can I get Seton Hall 125-1 for Mafia and all the crew out there for the Pirates next year? Book it, Mafia says. Book it. So there you go, Joe. We close the book on this year's college basketball season. Ferrall Coast to Coast, Carver High and Joe for Scotty. We're back. SportsGrid Radio right after this.
mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16 seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The fact that I've been able to move to a home that I'm very excited about is it's really cool, and so far just love everybody that I've met at SportsGrid, and I'm just super pumped for the opportunity. Sometimes things that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking, whether it was me playing and just trying to get a tidbit on the golf course and certain thing a player might have learned. Now I'm getting that information because I don't mind asking it.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Tuesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. All right, Joe, I mentioned there is one baseball game that is going on live right now. Home opener in Fenway for the Red Sox. They have the Orioles in town with Corbin Burns starting today. Orioles do lead the Sox 3-1. They are in the top of the sixth right now, 2 outs in that one. The Tigers did beat the Pirates earlier today. Pirates had a 3-1 lead going into the ninth, and they blew it, Joe. They gave up 4 in the top of the ninth. Tigers end up beating them 5-3. So the Tigers, another team that you were very high on, out to a 7-4 start here on the season. So they're going. But the Pirates now 9-3 on the year for the Buccos after the loss.
Yeah, but we talked about it. They always win in April. Wait until they get to June. They fall off a cliff.
They do always win in April, the Buccos. They usually.
I think I want to buy the White Sox now. Buy the White Sox.
Yeah, you don't. Can I just say you don't want to do that? I think that's a big mistake, Joe. That's
Why?
You want to buy. They're 1-9, Joe.
Yeah,
and they've
already.
Why I
want to buy them.
Let me just before you. I know you're not completely looped in yet with everything that's going on with the baseball. They're 1-9. They've lost their two best hitters already for who knows how long with Robert and Eloy Jimenez. Two of their best hitters are already gone, who are always hurt anyway, both of those guys. They've got no pitching whatsoever. They are going to be dreadful, Joe. In fact, there's so many bad teams in baseball. A's are awful. Nats aren't very good. The Rockies are awful. I think you'd be better off betting the White Sox to maybe have the worst record in the league. I think that would be a better play. So if you want to buy in on them for that, Joe, I would agree with that if you wanted to go ahead and make that move. I'll give you some of the baseball from last night. Some great finishes, Joe. Some big comebacks as well. Coast to coast, our team next.